Here we go. Come on, Steve.
My goodness. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another BDE podcast. My name is Stephen Hawley, and I'm here in the studio with my main man. He smelled what the Rock was cooking and immediately lost his appetite. Shelton Walker. Shelton, my friend. How are you today?
Steven Chad. What's up, Bobby? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's good to see you again. How are you?
It's good. Look, it's been a while since I've seen you. I feel like we're probably going to outplay that joke, but we're going to ride it until we can't no more, my guy. Steven, we have a jam-packed show today. We've got Gator talk. We've got Super Bowl talk. We've got college football talk. And we got a little bit of the GOAT talk. Tom. I'm always here for a little Tom action. You know what I'm saying?
Who's not?
Listen, let's jump right into it. Your boy wore the Shane Matthews jersey today because he's feeling lucky. You know what I'm saying? Feeling pretty good about it. We got to dive right into the good stuff here. Ready?
Let's talk about it.
Scare money don't make money, baby. It's a new segment. The Gators are hot right now. Billy Napier's coming in doing work, doing magical things. We talked about it on Monday, landed our first running back since 2019.
With a name, with a lineage. Like he
right?
might have a decent bloodline.
Exactly. Now, he didn't stop there, old Billy Napier. He's looking into locking in Trevante Citizen, another 4-star running back who was ranked higher than Trevor. He's ranked 113. Trevor was ranked 118. He's a Louisiana kid, right? And they've got some great connection with him. They've been talking to him a lot through Louisiana, and he came out and spoke, said, hey, I've got good connection with them. I feel really confident with these guys, and they've been talking to me, and he feels like he's at home with them. So, look, it could be something. He's been talking to LSU a lot, which is obviously because of where he's located, but Billy's got some ties there.
I was going to say, like, isn't that where Billy's from? I mean, he may not have had the name recognition in order to bring in these big recruits, but he had the relationship. He's been talking to these kids for a long time, and now all of a sudden he can put a business card down that says, I'm just as big as they are. And look, these kids maybe couldn't buy into the relationship because the school was smaller, but now you have the relationship and the buying power of the Florida University.
Absolutely. Look, I think it's going to be huge. I think getting another 4-star running back to create some more competition, just like Jake Miller causing some more competition with AR-15. I think it's huge. Again, we say these guys are studs and these kids are studs because they get the 4-star recruit, right? They get this title right before the season, all from what they did in high school, and we get hyped up and we're really excited about it. And a lot of these guys come and nothing really happens from it, right? So it's good to have a bunch of these guys. If we can get a pick of the litter like Bama's got, and they're just sitting there just
a cycle of quarterbacks
yeah.
and running backs and offensive linemen. They just churn them. But this is how you do that. You do that by constantly like this kid who was just playing in the national championship for Alabama this week.
The running back.
He had been there. Yeah, he had been there behind multiple running backs year after year after year. He wasn't the guy. And this year, I think it was Scarborough. He finally got his chance. This was his
Robinson?
chance.
Wasn't it Robinson? Robinson.
Yeah.
Bro, he was behind
because he was behind Scarborough. Yeah. So,
but I mean, it's just Najee Harris, Josh Jacobs, like a line of them, dude.
But that's what Alabama does, and that's why they are so good, because they keep this talent from transferring for the most part. They somehow convince them that when it's your time, it's your time. And look, you never know what injuries are going to do. You never know if talent really translates to the next level, right?
Sure.
So you've got to have multiple options available in order to really solidify a position. Because if you've got one generational talent, and he's one injury away from, a 2-string backup, you hurt.
Sure. No, I think it's huge. Again, he hasn't committed yet. I think he's waiting to the National Signing Day, which is February 2nd. So that's coming up. We've obviously got some time. But he's still working. He's still grinding, that being Billy Napier. And I think, again, that conversation, the coaches are still talking to him, having that close connection. I think it's huge. For him he was a pretty heavy LSU commit at one point, for it to come out and say, hey, he could be flipping. I'll take that as a W. I think it's good marketing.
Look,
If it's not, I think it'll get other people's eyes kind of looking like, what's going on down there? Just kind of like what Deion's been doing, right? He pulls one,
sure.
he pulls another. So it's getting those strings out there that it gets the name out there. Everyone's like, hey, what's going down there at the swamp? I want in.
And look, with the coaching change in LSU, like LSU lost their coach too. So there's a huge transition happening in the major university of Louisiana. And then you got Billy Napier, who's moving into a big school with a relationship with a lot of these kids. That is turning dividends right now. I think with the unstableness of LSU and Billy's ability to recruit moving to Florida, that's clearly, if especially if Citizen commits, you can see that clear as day.
We've done a lot of blowing Napier on this channel, and I think you kind of nailed it on the head with that LSU. They've got a new head coach, but not a lot of splashing has been going around down there in LSU, right? I mean, I haven't heard much of, hey, we're landing this guy, we're getting this guy. Again, we're obviously more inclined with what's going on with Florida, and you're FSU, and I haven't heard much from the FSU camp either. Because
look, FSU's been doing their thing. They've got 2 committed recruits that are both 4 stars.
Okay.
85% of their class is already signed. They've still got some people out there that they're fighting for, but for FSU, they're sitting at 14.
They've always had a solid
right
kind of base there too.
Yeah, they're sitting at 14, and that's losing Travis Hunter. So that being said, there's still an opportunity to grab a couple of other kids, and
sure.
They're already at 14, unless there's something catastrophic that goes backwards, which again, 14 out of 16 of our recruits are already signed. What already could go wrong went wrong.
Sure.
I think they're fine. They're going to be, they're just slow, steady, like not a lot of flash, not a lot of this or that. They've had so much of their class done for so long that I don't foresee them making headlines, but it's going to be an extremely solid class for FSU.
I mean, it's okay to hear, I guess.
So you're not the biggest fan. I get that.
Yeah. On Monday, we had a big game. Did you hear about it?
I did not. What was that?
It was some 2 morons tried to do a podcast during the middle of it, thinking they were going to get traction. It was absolutely incredible to watch.
Amazing.
The national championship happened, and something big happened. Their number 1 wide receiver blew out his ACL in the first quarter, was it? Right? On a huge
I think
play.
It was the second quarter. A big play. Look, it was a great play. The kid found a seam down the middle, split the safeties, and the safety took an angle to try to get back in front of him to stop him from getting to the end zone. He had to slow himself down in order to just make the play. And you could just see the knee wobble. You could just see it. If you've watched football for too long,
yeah, it was Jameson Williams. Yeah, you saw as soon as it happened. It was a non-contact a little bit. It was contact, but it wasn't like a aggressive hit. It was like a weird kind of.
It was his own body momentum that did it. But look, you and I just talked about a week ago about players foregoing the bowl game, and then it's making the bowl game seem less important for us.
Except the playoffs.
Except the playoffs. But I mean, look, again, this kid, he's out there at this point now. Their number 1 wide receiver. He's got the ability to start moving into, a professional career. In the last game of the year for him, and in the second quarter, like, these ACL injuries are not easy to overcome.
Sure.
Are they faster than they were 10 years ago? Of course, but that's a lot of rehab. And so he's gonna potentially miss the opportunity to see realized revenue. I know the NIL takes care of kids these days, but look, I think maybe if we're really talking about it, that kid lost his knee in the national championship in the middle of February or in the middle of January, and he's not a draftable prospect anymore. He's just not. I mean, I'm just wondering if these kids have the right idea. Maybe they're right. Maybe we're just being selfish fans, and they have the right idea.
I agree, because here's why. It worked for Jamar Chase. The guy took an entire year off to avoid one is natty, one is championship. Took an entire year off to make sure he secured that bag, and now he's out here hooping. It's a tough look. It's part of the game. I don't think you sit out a national championship game. That's absolute mayhem. But it makes you, again, the guy has sealed his fate at this point, whether he plays in this game or not, right? He's going to go to the NFL. But now he could cost himself a little bit. He's definitely going to cost himself some draft pick. It happened to Tua, too. Got the back injury during the championship game. So, again, Tua hasn't really had too much, but it definitely brought
Tua's problem was he dislocated his hip. His entire hip came out.
Yeah, which is a serious injury.
You have to put that back in, and that seems weird.
To argue that, though, that's part of the game. I mean, you have to play the game to get to this point. And I that's my only thing is that it sucks because, yes, that's part of the game, and I think we're looking at it now. We're emphasizing it more and more because people are stepping out and raising their hands and, hey, I'm not going to play. Were the players right for a bowl game where there isn't much on the line that you'll have forever? Yes. But to be called a national champion in college football, I don't know, man.
You got to go. You got to go for that. And
do you, though?
And I don't see. That's the thing.
That's tough, man. I mean, Stetson
what is
Bennett,
it for the kid?
Bennett, right? Stetson Bennett. Yeah, he's going to be a legend in Georgia forever, right? Because of just kind of the scenario. For Bama, though, no kid's gonna be a legend. They've got so many damn trophies. Nobody remembers names.
There's so many names that are great. Like they don't have any more room on the ring of the stadium. It's a big ass. They ain't got no room anymore, man.
Dude, it's tough, man, because you don't want to bash the game. You don't want these kids to stop playing football. You don't want them to sit these games out because then it becomes irrelevant, right? But
look, words: Willis McGahee. Willis McGahee. If anybody remembers that, it was probably the most gruesome thing I've ever seen. But it took the guy years to get his career back. Jalen Smith from Notre Dame was in an off playoff bowl game. I want to say it was the Orange Bowl. He lost his knee. Lost it. It was gone. The Cowboys still picked him. They still picked him in like the second or third round, and luckily he rehabbed. But that rehab requires one, you to be convicted to it, and two, that your body like gives back, and it not always does. It's tough. I mean, these guys got to play the game. If they don't play the game, they don't make it to the next level because they got to play the game there. But you just start sprinkling in these extra games. These, you're playing your regular season, you're playing your conference playoff, and then you're playing a playoff game, and then you're playing a championship game. I mean, these kids are adding 4 extra games potentially to just the opportunity to not have what they need for the next level.
I got roasted for this. I can't say Etienne's last name yet. All right, I'm gonna get better at it. I promise.
Etienne.
I don't know. I don't know. But Travis, who went to the Jags, right, tore his ACL in practice. I'm talking about practice, not a game. Not a game.
Dante Fowler did the same thing. His first practice with the Jags.
Exactly. So that raises the next question. You can always get hurt. So are you going to live your career on fear? And that's kind of where I come to. It's like, look, were the players right? Yes. Should they take the right precautions? But there's a time and a place. Do you sit out a bowl game? Do you sit out a championship game? Do you sit out a playoffs? Absolutely not. These are where you define your career. And because here's the flip side. The guy that he makes that catch, right? He goes on to have a monster game. Bama may win that game. No joke. No joke.
Their top 2 wide receivers were out.
Got out, right?
So once they lost Minchie, their top 2 wide receivers are out, and I'm telling you, they were. What's the kid's name? Bryce Young from Alabama was throwing dimes, bouncing off. I'm
glad you mentioned that. I don't think I've seen so many perfect passes dropped in a game. Ever. That was dude.
Look,
I was
Georgia, it was well covered.
But no,
they were well covered.
Throw
but it was
it
just
like
like
off his back foot on the run, and I'm like, man, that was a horrible throw. And they showed a replay, bro. It's hitting the kids in the hand. I'm like what?
How you're throwing this within a 6-inch window off your back foot, just rifling? Well, nothing. I don't know.
Yeah, I felt bad for Bryce. I was. Look, I'm not sold on Bryce Young. I know he's Heisman and all. I'm not completely sold on the kid, but I think he had some nice passes. But my point is, the wide receiver, James Williams, he goes on, has a great game. He then cashes in on a bigger bag than maybe he was, set before that game. So it's risk versus reward. I think for that particular situation, no, the player's not right. These irrelevant bowl games, yes, they 100% have a point because there's zero value to that I don't think anybody's watching that with the same microscope like, hey, we this matters, right? Jamar Chase is a prime example of that. And I think more kids are going to start doing that. And if they show, hey, they sit out a year or maybe the last half of the year to protect themselves and go and have a great NFL career, then these games are going to become less and less value, showing like, look, they don't mean anything.
But when does the regular season become less valuable? I mean, look, Jamar Chase.
I think they're going to have to shorten it, like we've talked about, to get the value back.
You really are, and it's especially with the way that the SEC is going to 16 teams, 4 pods of 4. Look, I think that they're gonna have to shorten the regular season, make it more conference focused, and less with these extra games that you play in different states and all these things. And these neutral site games, I think, are going to start to become completely gone.
Yep.
But that being said, if we make the regular season more important, then maybe the bowl games become back what they were before, which was a ability to showcase your talent, because you haven't had
in a big
10
game.
games.
Yep.
Right. And that's the thing, against talent that you maybe didn't have the opportunity to play against in your regular season. Now you got, the best team in the Big Ten versus the best team in the Big 12, and they want to be able to put that together to say, on a big show, on a big stage, I was able to put on a show.
Sure. Moving on from one championship to another. Okay, just had this one Monday. Got a pretty big one coming up in February. It is set to play at the moment in Los Angeles, California, at SoFi Stadium, an incredible stadium, a beautiful stadium. It's the Rams and Chargers Stadium. I'm excited to see it be played there. It is. Well, I love watching Rams games because it's just such a cool stadium. I think they've done a phenomenal job. And I mean, look, that sounds dumb, but it's fun to watch games in fun stadium. Like watching a game in the Chiefs Stadium, I can't stand it. It looks like they're playing in a high school stadium. But
really? You don't like to watch the Chiefs in Arrowhead? That's so classic.
I can't stand it.
Green Bay? What about Green Bay?
Green Bay, I love Green Bay.
What about Lambeau?
I love Lambeau. Oh, I love it. The snow.
Yeah, right.
It's just like it's everyone's frozen to their seats.
Completely encompassed. Yeah. Like, here's the thing I've always wondered. So in Lambeau, like the normal crowd reaction is that you clap and you scream. Everybody has on these big, thick, padded gloves. So what kind of sound are you making? Is the crowd really like a factor there?
Dude, those Wisconsin,
I don't know.
Those Wisconsinians, I just made up a word. They don't wear gloves. They're wearing shorts and overalls, bro. They're not dressed like we would be. The ones that are wearing gloves are from Florida. But there is some talk that it's not going to be in Los Angeles. Yeah. They're going to move it. I'm thinking this is actually going to happen. I think this is actually a real thing. I think this is more likely to happen than not. And a few things. COVID's kind of turning up a little bit. I don't think it's as serious as it has been. However, it's still causing some, people to be a little on edge and things like that, and causing people to act and do different things. So they're saying that a 20% capacity is only going to be either allowed or possibly only be in Los Angeles. California has been locked down since this thing started.
Yeah,
so
that's a horrible idea to have it there.
That's number one. Number two, the whole mask thing, people aren't going to go because of it, or people are going to go, but again, be uncomfortable about it. So just, again, the entire environment and just what's going on in California is completely different from other parts of the country, right?
Sure.
So that's part of it. So where other to have it? There's only 2 places you can really have this, and based on the scenario with COVID. One being Florida. Because we don't give a shit, but we've already had
not
it
a mask one.
Yeah, I think Miami would be an awful place. I'm not a huge fan of the Hard Rock. We just had it in Tampa. That leaves one more state that doesn't give a fuck, and that is Dallas Cowboy Stadium. That's where they're talking about this game going to in Dallas. Look, Dallas is another phenomenal stadium that I love watching football in. I think it's a great stadium. I would love for it to be in Dallas. I would almost love for it more to be there, because Jerry Jones does not give a shit about masks and any of that either. So there's going to be zero regulations or any kind of pushback with the whole COVID thing. Now,
and Jerry's the kind of guy from a business standpoint. He's the kind of guy that'll spend money to make money. And he knows
money don't make money, baby.
Yeah, exactly. I figured that was going. Anyway, but he's the kind of guy that'll go completely all in order to just give any crazy discounts to the media, to the hotels. I mean, he'll offset it because he knows the publicity that comes for having the Super Bowl in your stadium, just in your stadium, not even the people that come, but just the
Around
AT&T
you,
stadium. It just makes money just from the name. So
just
he's the kind
fly.
of guy that I think would just go out and just spend it all in
The
order to
reason
buy it.
the reason I think he'll pay Los Angeles to take it from them, like you just said, one. Because Los Angeles is going to lose a lot of money by not having it there. The businesses around that, they're going to be just like what happened to Atlanta during the All-Star game. I'm sure there's some lawsuits happening because those people are pissed, right? That for they moved that game out of Atlanta to Colorado.
Atlanta, yeah.
But there's two parts. But I think the NFL and the media, I think they're worried about losing money from it being in Los Angeles. So that's why I really think it's going to push to Dallas because they're not going to want to lose money. And if people can't go to the games,
you have the media, you have the advertisers, there's so much money that goes into that game. And look, I love the national championship, and the national championship to me is more exciting. But I'm a huge college football fan. The amount of money that the Super Bowl makes by itself, from the advertisers to the travel that it brings into the city to just the media hype that goes on for
it's
2
unmatched.
weeks before the game. It's
unmatched.
Unbelievable. So to let that walk out of your city because of your state regulations, it's going to piss people off. So it is going to make people really upset.
Here's what makes this even more exciting. You've got the Rams in the playoffs as well as the Cowboys in the playoffs. So this will be with this happening, right? The Rams have an opportunity to play in their home stadium, which would be the second time in 2 years that a team makes that plays in their home field for the Super Bowl, which would be kind of crazy. And I think they have a good chance. I think their hardest game, to be honest with you, is against the Cardinals. Not their hardest game, but I think one of the hardest push-throughs. I mean, they got to get through the Packers too, but it's going to be that Cardinals game.
But they've played the Cardinals twice already. They're used to that game. They know that team.
I know, but it's still. I feel like to me, like that's that rivalry game that's gonna be tough, right? So there's a lot of those two teams. I would say, like, look, Dallas is really obviously pushing to get that W, but Rams too. Like, hey, we're playing here. We wanted to have it here. I don't know. I truly think it's gonna move. I think as we keep moving on into the months and to the weeks, the Rams are gonna play. Obviously, they may have a game in LA. That will be kind of, I think, a good feel on how things are, right? If they don't fill out a playoff game.
Well, can they? That's the thing. Can they even do that right now?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I think, I'm telling you, that's going to be a big factor. If they lose round one, I would say, hey, sell it off and try to get it next year.
Sell it.
Right, let it go. Let's just, hey, we're gonna flip it. We'll get it next year because the Rams aren't going anywhere.
Put yourself in rotation and just say, look, you always have 2 or 3 years of the next Super Bowl planned out. Like, we'll give this one away, but we'll just insert ourselves into 2020.
I really think it's gonna happen. Who knows? But I've got a weird feeling about it.
No, that makes sense. I mean, like, California's been very slow to respond to some of the virus stuff, and you're talking about too much money to play around with something like this. Yeah, It's just, especially with the hospitality stuff. You have all these people coming in, even if you don't have a stadium that's going to put 85 or 80,000 or 65,000 in the stadium. It's what happens outside of the stadium for that 2 weeks. And if people are not able to come in, especially from states that don't have these regulations, and they're going to stay in hotels, and they're going to have to, like, it's just the hotel capacities will be reduced. Yep. I'm telling you, it'll be like Jacksonville when they had the Super Bowl here. Yeah, we didn't have the capability to handle it.
Exactly. That's a great point. Jacksonville there was no regulations. They just couldn't handle it because they were too small. Los Angeles is cutting their capacity down by the regulations. That's a great point. I see it moving. There's no way it doesn't move.
I think it moves, especially if Dallas is an option, and you got Jerry Jones with a blank check, always just dripping ink right in front of you. Like, who doesn't take that offer?
One of our viewers here, Ricky, said he's speaking back to the college game. He said, "I'd opt out. I'm protecting the bag." Look, man, it's becoming a money bag situation. We hear you on that one.
It's a money bag situation before you even play a single down as a freshman. Like, you're getting paid as a high school kid these days. Like, Yeah, it's all about the bag at this point.
for
So
sure.
like I'll save my knees and then but then what do? They get to the NFL and they actually have to play the football game? Like, oh, this is weird.
Sure.
I wasn't expecting this.
So,
Practice.
good little segue here back to college football. One more time for the.
Scared money don't make money. You know?
We're moving it back to the college really quick here. Billy does it again. The guy, like we've been saying it all month, all week, and I hope to keep saying it. He made another slight power move. Why I call it a good move? I was kind of hesitant on it. He brings in Rob Sale from the New York Giants. I know it doesn't sound exciting when you say it. I wasn't very excited when I said it either. The good part about this is that he's bringing him back. They coached in Louisiana together. They broke tons of records together. They have a history, which I like, and they have a good history. Right now, Dan Mullen did this too, so we got to keep that in mind that it's not a set in stone. But I like bringing somebody that you've had. He went to the Giants. He was just the O-line coach in New York. And you made a point. He's coming back, and he's managing both jobs here in Florida. Is that right?
Yes, he's the O-line coach and the offensive coordinator,
Which
which
is a lot of work.
is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But look, they have a level of familiarity with them, and like Sales moved around a ton, but he has had success in his offensive coaching career with Billy. So
Sure.
I look, when you're a new coach, and I think a lot of coaches do this, and we can go back and we can talk a little bit more about how maybe this transition happens. But a lot of new coaches going into new situations as a head coach are going to bring guys they know. Now, does that mean that they keep the guys that they know? No, that just means that it helps the transition go a little smoother. And I
Sure.
think where Dan Mullen got a little bit tripped up is I think he kept too many of the guys that he knew, even though they weren't performing.
We
And I don't know if that's always the case with certain coaches. You just want that transition to go a little bit smoother. And I think that's what Billy's doing here. He's bringing this guy in. Look, Sales moved around a lot. Don't like he's been an offensive line coach here for 1 year. He's gone to another place and been, this coach. I mean, look, if you're a hiring manager and you look at this resume, you're like, this guy's never staying anywhere for more than a year. I'm not hiring him.
Well, what's
But
going on, dude?
in that scenario, I think it's completely normal to move around as much as he has. Sale and Billy have known each other for a long time. They've had success together, and I think that just makes the transition easier. So I don't hate the hire.
I think
I don't know.
that's
I don't know if it's going to translate, but I understand
yes.
the why.
You nailed on the head with it's the comfortability, right, and getting everybody on the same page very quickly. I think that's what's huge. What you said with Dan was not good, and we talked about it before shit hit the fan. We kind of saw the writing on the wall. We were very adamant about saying, hey, he's afraid to make a move on somebody he likes, right? With Emory Jones, he once he sells in and buys in,
Put him on a pip.
yeah, put him on a pip. He rides it. He rides that wave too long. He's afraid to make a power move, and that's where Billy has to be. Look, I love you, Rob. You've done a great job, but you're not cutting it, and be able to make that cut just as quickly as he made the hire. And I think that's where this move, and we've made this kind of prediction before. This move is going to be we'll be able to decide if this was a good move later on. I think for now, we'll break this up in 3 segments. Early move, love it. Like you said, make a quick transition. Get things comfortable. He understands how I operate. That's one less person I have to get used to my system. Phenomenal. The guy knows what he's doing. He's not just oblivious to the situation. He's been an OC for Billy. He can get that ball rolling. If he sees pretty quickly, middle of the season, this guy's not prepared for this type of caliber football, then you got to make a move quick. He got you his position. You're comfortable now. 90% of the people should be understanding what's happening, and he's not transitioning. He has to make that move. So this is going to be a pre-postcard score. We'll give him a score later on in the year, being Rob and Billy, on how he manages this. I think this is look, we're keeping tally marks here. And so far, so good. But it's again, how is it going to season is going to be the key factor here.
And to your point, I think we look at that. We look at the moves in all of his coaching, and even with Billy, so Billy and his coaching staff, you can look at them in 3 phases. You can look at them in the early instant impact, which I think has been good so far. You look at them in the middle, which is the season gets started. How is their off-season program transitioning into the season, and then how do they get off the ground? Does everybody seem like they're on the same page? Because you could typically see that in a coaching staff. Like, does everybody know where they're supposed to be? Does everybody know their role? And then you can do a late season with, game 8 through whatever.
Sure.
So I think right now he's doing great. Again, everything looks great until it's time to
Right.
put your
Look,
cleats in the ground. So
he's
so far so good.
he's doing what we want. He's saying the right thing. He's making the right moves. But again, it's all got to be actions. But it's fun to be excited, and that's kind of where we're at right now. So we'll see. Look, this is going to be kind of a TBD, to be decided on how that plays out. Our last
I'm sure we'll talk about it. I'm sure we'll talk about it.
I'm sure we'll dabble into it. Our last what if topic, our what if Wednesday. We really didn't intro it this time. We were kind of hyped up and ready to go. Our first time live here on YouTube. We're really excited. Appreciate you guys stopping by. I had some great viewers, some good comments. So we appreciate you guys stopping in and showing some love. To wrap up today's topic, we like this topic here. Okay. And we're not really wrong with it because these cats are getting old. Father Time is undefeated, and we talked about it with Nick Saban last week. I don't think we're far off with the Nick thing. I think. Look, I don't think it's crazy. I think if he would have won, I had this weird feeling that he was going to come out and say he was going to retire, and we were going to be like, yes.
Gosh, I mean, look, we nailed the Trevor Lawrence thing. We got ahead
Dude,
of multiple media
the
outlets.
Trevor Lawrence was
crazy.
That's crazy. Our video hasn't succeeded from it, but we kind of just stirred it up in the office. We started up in the office, and then we tossed it out there. Now it's kind of like people are starting to slowly talk about it. It's kind of funny to watch.
Somebody's watching. Somebody's riding our backs.
Somebody subscribed. Whatever. Tom Brady, the guy's old. I love him. Twom, okay? He's a fucking goat. He's got a fucking smallpox, okay? Twom knows what he's fucking doing, all right? Fucking throws the football around, you know what I mean? I love the guy to death. He's 44. He looks like he's going backward. He's like a fine wine, bro. He doesn't look like
he's like Dick Clark. I don't know. You're too young to know Dick Clark, but I swear to God, that guy, like, he was like Benjamin Buttons. He got to like 70 years old, and then all of a sudden, like, you turned around, he was 50. You're like, what the fuck? How is Dick Clark doing this?
It's like George Clooney, right? These guys just don't age. But here's the thing. His numbers haven't subsided at all for Tom. So that's where we're kind of losing the argument here. Here's where I say, here's why I think it happens. Don't ever count the guy out. I already made my prediction. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to win the Super Bowl this year. They are my pick, hands down. It's not who I want.
Right, well, I know how Thursday will go.
Yeah, it's not who I want. It's who I think. I want Tom to win another one. Out of all the teams, I would love to see either the Rams or Tom. Those are my two kind of like homer picks. Okay, I think the Rams have a way too tough of a schedule. Oh, the Cowboys. I would love to see Zeke get one. I love Zeke too. I love too many players. From fantasy football, I love a lot of players. Just give me some slack, okay? That's why I've been loving the NFL lately.
I mean, I would love for 17 teams to win the entire. I would love to
everybody win the Super Bowl. No, look, I don't want Rodgers to win. I think he's going to win. Okay? I would love to see Dak and Zeke get it done. I want Tom to get it done. But I would be okay if Matt or Dak won. Like, it'd be cool to watch.
So what is your
what
what
sucks
if
is
Wednesday?
they're all on the same side. Tom Brady retires if he wins. He's done. He has 8. He's won back-to-back. If the guy was undefeated going into the playoffs and won out, because that's the only thing he doesn't have, and he has that hanging over his head, I'm telling you, that's the guy keeping him from retirement. If he would have won undefeated against that Giants back in, I think it was like 2007, he'd be done by now.
You think so?
100%. I think if
what else does he do?
If he had that undefeated season, right? If he had that undefeated season going back
all the way through to the
and won last year, he would have retired last year. So my thing is, you win back to back. That's one hell of a way to walk away. I think it's done. Look at around him. He's got AB's out. Gronk's not getting any younger. Gronk was out all year with injuries. Gronk's kind of like
Gronk's contract ends this year.
And he made a quick bag this year. He made a quick bag this year from his bro. Brady said, "Hey, we're going for one more play." Dumped off a little pass to Gronk to get him a bag. Mike Evans isn't going anywhere, but he's dealing with a lot of injuries. A lot of contracts are going to be coming up. Godwin's contract's ending. There's a lot. Fournette's kind of off and on injury. This is kind of, again, the age is catching up to the rest of the team around him. And I truly believe if they get it done, I think he retires. He doesn't walk away on a losing season. I know for a fact. But if he somehow magically pulls it off,
he won't walk away with anything that would tarnish his legacy. And I don't think that he's a legacy guy. I don't think that Tom puts all the emphasis on that. But at this point, it would be remiss of us to think that he doesn't know he's the greatest quarterback of all time. And to leave on a 7-6 season, I don't think that
He's not 7-6.
meshes well
He's
with
like
him
12-4.
No.
It
I mean,
feels
like next
7-6.
year, if he were to go into the next year and lose the amount of talent that he required Tampa Bay to go get in order for him to come there, and they said, "We'll do it." They got Fournette. They went and got Gronk. They've made moves on
AB.
AB, right? And they've done what they needed to do in order. And I mean, look, I want to say that they've even beefed up the defense, and I'm not going to go down that path because I'll either be wrong or somebody will point it out to us in the comments. I'm not into it. So, but my point is, he came to Tampa Bay and he said, "If you want me, you're going to invest in winning a Super Bowl," and
Yep.
they did.
And they got it done. He should
So
he should have walked in.
But now look, they're right back at it. The guy is just a fierce competitor. A fierce competitor. You don't want any. I wouldn't want to play Tom Brady in the playoffs if he was bringing a JV team in, because he'll find a way to fuck you up.
It is
It's
scary.
just so awful,
Scary.
right? So, but I do believe that he's competent and cognizant of what's around him in the franchise situation and things like that. So look, they win it this year, or even if they go to the NFC Championship or they just come up a little bit short, I still think he's done, just because he could look at what's happening around him and ask, do I want to go through another rebuild? Or is this place, Tampa, going to be able to rebuild around me? I don't know if they have the money for it.
Here's the fine line. Peyton did it right. The man wins. He's like, I'm done. And I think for Brady to really cap off, the guy's got a legacy. He's the GOAT, no question. But he's basically has given us the impression of perfection his entire career. And I feel like the only way he can leave and kind of complete that image we have of him is he has to leave on a winning season. It's got to be a Super Bowl win. And I feel like as more years pass, and we keep saying this, I feel like people have this conversation all the time. But I think it's the talent around him. I don't know. I'm starting to second guess myself as I say it out loud, because I've seen this said before.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. You're holding him to a standard of the Super Bowl is the only way to walk out. What if he goes to the NFC Championship? It's a rematch of Green Bay.
Yes, I agree.
They beat Green Bay last year, and they went to the Super Bowl and won. What if they get to the NFC Championship, and this time Aaron Rodgers
beats him?
They don't kick a field goal, right, or something,
yep.
And then and he loses out by 4. Is that going out on a loss? I don't think so. I don't think you need the crown in order to feel like I made the run. I don't know.
I agree. I think that's a reasonable walk away. My concern is, like you said, next year a 7-6 would not be a, hey, I can walk away from this, and then you start running on fumes, right? Then the following year, it's like, I just need to get to 10-2 or 12-4, right? Then you're chasing something that is going to be harder and harder to contain and to grasp each year, because the teams around you are getting so much better. So sure. I think I truly feel like this is it. I don't want it to be it. I don't. I would just like to be ahead of the story in case that it is, so I can say we
Look, I mean, the one thing I will say is that for football fans, you and I got to witness what our fathers watched, and maybe our grandfathers, right? Like, I mean, they watched the Lombardis, they watched the Terry Bradshaws, they watched I mean, I was a kid, so I don't really remember it very well, but I mean, I watched the Emmitt Smith and the Troy Aikman and the Michael Irvin, and I remember that. I'm like, they get the battle that they had against San Francisco every year for the NFC Championship to go to the Super Bowl. This is one of these things that when we're older, I won't have that much more time, but you will. But when we're older, you're going to look back at the Tom Brady NFL career and say,
what a time.
you're going to tell your kids and your grandkids and whatever dog you have then.
I'm going to be arguing with them because they're going
them,
to try to tell me some young bucks better than Tom.
Oh, right.
And I'm gonna have
it's
to
like
beat
when
their ass.
anytime somebody says that Kobe's better than Michael Jordan, anybody who watched Michael
or
Jordan
LeBron
like,
or anything.
Son, sit down. Let me explain something
Yeah.
to you.
Hey, buddy, come here. Let's have a little sit on my lap. Listen,
oh my gosh,
Steven, what a great first episode for YouTube. We had a ton of viewership, way more than I was anticipating. Thank you all for stopping by, dropping your comments.
My gosh, YouTube, it's so good to be here,
dude.
Where have we been?
That's on us.
They've been there the whole time.
We've been waiting for us.
We've done them a
disservice. Yes, look, we're going to have a special tomorrow. So if you enjoyed it, if you like what you've seen today, be back here tomorrow. We are going to be doing the entire NFL playoffs pick'ems. Chad's got a bracket. I got a bracket. It's going to be insane. We've got our BDE pick'ems scoreboard happening. It's going to be exciting. So stop by. We want to know who you think's going to win. It's going to be a good time. We might have a little boozy on the cast. I don't know. It's going to be a banger. Be here.
Well, I am.
I'll make sure to put out a time tomorrow so you guys know what time to clock in and be ready to rock and roll. But until next week, make sure you guys like.
Shot per round on the picks.
Exactly. Make sure you guys drop a like, drop a subscription, okay? Turn on the bell so you know when Steve and I hop in here. We try to hop on 3 times a week to let you guys know what's going on. So until next
subscribe,
week.
Tell us that we're idiots. We love the comments. We're idiots.
The comments have been phenomenal. We have been getting called out left and right on our ignorance, on the fact that we can't say a last name. And guess what, guys? You're not wrong. We are morons. And we're here to hear your opinions, and we like to know how you guys feel because we don't get better without that, all right? We may cry ourselves to sleep at night, but we're going to wake up the next morning, throw on some powder, drink a little beer, and we'll be back.
I love it. You're absolutely right. That's exactly how we get ready for this thing. I love it.
Exactly. All right, guys. Until next week, I'm Shelton.
And I'm Holly.
Boogity, 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 baby. Let's go racing.